So today we're going to talk about 10 traits of great leaders. One thing I've noticed and I've learned over many, many years, and I've read a lot of books on leadership by great gurus, many of them who are authors, and also read a lot of articles, particularly from Harvard Business School, and also my experience over the last 3 decades. I've gained a lot of experience, and that's what I want to share with you today. And I always like to see, what do the great leaders do? What are their attributes? What are their traits? And obviously, I've realized that most of it is based on the Bible. So each of this session, we'll start it with the Word of God. So if we just look at 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. Paul here was one of the greatest leaders, particularly in spreading the gospel across the world. And he says, I have fought a good fight. I have finished. I want to put the word my race. Tell somebody, I want to finish my race. And he says, I've kept my faith. Now, the first session that we're going to be having is the questions when you reach the finishing line, what are you going to be thinking, saying, and what will people say about you? Paul says, I fought a good fight and I finished my race. So when you reach your finishing line, I want you and me to be saying, I have spent all my talents doing a great work, and I've given all in terms of my potential. And I've done great work, either in my family, in my community, in my business, and everywhere there I have an area of influence. One of the greatest sayings that Dr. Miles Monroe said is that the most rich place is not the gold mines, it's not the platinum mines, but it's the cemetery. Because many of us go to our grave with all the talents, gifts, and potential, and we haven't used it. And I want you to be one of the greatest leaders when you reach your finishing line and be able to say, I have unleashed my potential. I have given everything that I have supposed to give. And I've made this place a little better than I found it. I used to be in a boarding school and I was taught by monks and nuns of German origin. And one of my teachers used to call me in the office and says, Maurice, do not have a messianic complex. You know what is a messianic complex? It's trying to save the whole world. He said to me, all you need to do is to make this world a little bit better than you found it. Don't make it worse than you found it. And that stuck in my head that that's all I need to do. Make this world a little bit better than we found it. The second one, you've played in a zone of excellence. Yesterday, Bruce told us about leadership performance zone. So I'm just lifting it up and saying your zone of excellence. So in other words, you need to operate in a way that will make you to really reach those highest levels of standards that you can ever achieve. All of us can stretch ourselves to a place we've never been. I remember when I actually worked for one of the major oil companies as a young star. I thought I worked hard. I thought I'm really working excellent. But that company had a very good program to rotate people all over the world. And they brought a guy called Isfan Kapitan to come and work with me. We were building service stations and we were rolling out the select stores, the convenience stores that you see in. And he came, and I thought, yeah, man, I'm a good and an excellent performer. But I worked alongside with him for 2 years. And I just saw he was coming from Hungary. And he's been with the company globally for many, many years. I just saw that his performance and his excellence, I thought I was here, and I thought I'm relatively good. But his was here. Every day, every morning when we meet and have our session to plan, his planning capabilities, his analysis, his work rate, his ability to deliver and meet deadlines with the quality of work that was excellent was just amazing. It was mind-blowing for me. And for 2 years, because he was here, he lifted me up, stretched me to the level when an opportunity came to start Excel Petroleum. I was able to grab it with all my hands, together with the team that we were, and we were able to roll out a retail network that competed with anyone in the world. That's what I mean by getting into your zone of excellence. The third one, you must realize your highest vision. What vision have you got? What a vision have you got? What is it that God has deposited in your life that you have? Most of you, I challenge you to have your personal vision and mission. And if you don't have, during the break and time, take a quiet time. This place is so great. Go and sit somewhere and write your personal vision. I remember as part of our executive leadership development, we would go out many times. And I remember one day after a session like this, the leader said, just go out and spend an hour alone. That was over 10 years ago. And said, write something, a vision or a mission that when you retire, you will do. And I went under the tree, sat on a rock, and as I was there and I deeply reflected, meditated, prayed, and these words, unleashing leadership potential, were just deposited in my heart. And I wrote them down. And I said, when I retire, I will start an institution called Unleashing Leadership Potential. And I wrote it. And I wrote everything about it. That is going to be what we call Unleashing Leadership Potential. And I could realize that this is my vision and my calling. It's codified now. I've been doing it for many, many years. But it had not been codified and systematized in a format that will become an institution. And I thought I'll do it when I retire. But trust me, before I could retire, it is already, the dream has come true. And you'll agree that it is here today. So what is your highest vision that you have? Great leaders identify their visions earlier in their life and put them down. That is why the book of Habakkuk says, write it down so that that vision can enthuse other people. And when you've written it so clearly, it has enthused. I've seen it. The ULP has enthused so many people. It has enthused so many resources. It's unbelievable that even today, these resources that we see today is because that vision has unleashed them. The fourth, you've built people. You've built people, not tear them down. It's so easy to have this syndrome of pulling down. We call it pulling down syndrome. When you get up the ladder of corporate life or you get up in your business life and all you do is become too big for yourself. We can't even reach you. We can't even access you. When somebody phones you, you don't respond. You don't even answer the phone. And then when you are actually going up your ladder of success, you're climbing on people's toes and shoulders on their heads. And on your road to success, there's cops left and right side. Because you've stabbed people. Because you believe that the only way to succeed, you've got a scarcity mind. A scarcity mind says the only one thing I have, if I have it, I have it. I shouldn't be sharing with it. If knowledge that I have, it's mine. If I've discovered some invention, it's mine. No. You build people. I believe the mandate of any leader. I've been a leader for the last 3 decades, whether as a manager or as a supervisor. When I was young, I was a supervisor and I became a junior manager, and I started businesses. And I believe there's only one single mandate I have as a leader. It's during the tenure of my time. If you are in my time and you're working with me, and I've used the word deliberately, with me, not for me. If you work with me during that 2, 3, 4 years, all I have to do is to ensure that I facilitate, encourage you, develop your potential to reach what God-given potential that you have. Nothing more, nothing less. The fact that we will produce, we'll make money, we'll achieve market share targets, we'll achieve all those other things that the business requires is important, but it's not critical to my vision. So whoever is a person that you have a privilege to serve now, just remember that's the only mandate you have. The next one, you never lost hope through your journey. Let me tell you something. Life is tough. Let me tell you, life is tough. It's difficult and it's challenging. And there is no doubt in my mind, it's not if, but when are you going to go through your valley of the shadow of death? You see, when David was writing that psalm, he said, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. You do not sit in the valley of the shadow of death. You do not have a pity party and cry in the valley of the shadow of death. You do not have a pity session where everybody must come now and say, what? Ooh, shame. What can we do for you? You don't sit in the valley of the shadow of death. You walk. You walk because there's animals, there's danger, there's everything that wants to devour you. So as you walk, you will go through that. Quickly. You contribute richly to the lives of the people you are privileged to serve. Privileged to serve. Underline that. Privileged to serve. It's not a right to be a leader. It's a privilege. The real crisis we have in this country is that people believe that they've got a right to be leaders. And it's an entrenched right, which they must stick to it and fight for it, even at the destruction of our own nation. It is a privilege to serve. It is a privilege to lead. Remember that. And the next one, you are strong, underline ethical. The biggest challenge we're facing in this country, in fact, enemy number one now, I've raised it in my ranking rate, it is corruption. But I have hope. I have hope that you and me are going to rise up to the challenge as we work together with God to save our nation. Do you believe that? Ethical leadership, that's what we need now. We need it more than ever before. And let me tell you, don't join any faction, but join the faction that is fighting against corruption. To all the people who are listening all over all the great nations of the world, the corruption challenge faces all of us. We've seen it everywhere, most part of the world. But it demands leaders that will rise up to the occasion and be counted, that we will stand against corruption. We were prepared to sacrifice everything that we have, our careers, even our lives, to fight against corruption. Because corruption is a cancer that will destroy the fiber of our entire nations. The next one, you are a genuine innovator. You don't follow people, you introduce new things. You know the world really need people who will become those people that will bring new ideas, new innovation, that will move the world forward. I'm very pleased that Sia is around here today, our own innovator. And we need more. something in you is so unique that you can bring to this world and catapult our country, catapult our continent into becoming one of the greatest continent in the world. I'm a strong believer of those people, and I was inspired by Bruce by that every continent in the world has its own dispensation of leading the world. Started with the Romans. If you study history, the Greeks were intellectual giants. England, there was a time when we were reading poems, some of you are young, there was a poem that says the sun never set in the British Empire. Today, British is even going back to becoming a tiny little country that does not even want to influence Europe. Now is the season of America. I don't know when it's going to be the season of China, but I do believe that the season of Africa is coming. And it's only you who can bring it to being. When you reach your finishing line, you're surrounded by teams who call you a coach. We'll talk a lot about coach here. I'm not talking about a boss. I'm talking about a coach. If you're running a business, your customers will say you're championing them. Some of you are young, but some of you are old here. But if you remember when Raymond Ackerman started Pick and Pay, his mantra was, I'm the champion of the household wives. And I'm going to make sure I'm bringing them very, very cost-effective products. And they can just walk into my shop, pick it, and go and pay it. That's how the word Pick and Pay came. And he introduced the trolley so that you just pick it and pay it. And he fought against and he made it so cost-effective, and so some of the products were cheap. And he positioned himself as the champion of the customer. And now he's built a big, mighty empire. And the loved ones who call you a legend. Let me tell you a story. A legend in my own lifetime. He has never been on TV. You've never even heard about them. You've never seen him on radio. You've never seen him on a print. But my legend was my grandfather. He taught me fundamental values. He taught me this verse. And he used to say it in Zulu. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. He said it in my voice. He used to drive with me, and I would sit next as a 10-year-old boy. We would drive long distance because he was an entrepreneur, and he would talk. I would fall asleep. I would say, this old man. But he instilled every good value that I have. I promise you, he is my legend. Finally, whatever you do, you know your great deeds will endure long after your death. And your life will stand as a model of possibility. You see, what you do now, you must have a sense of historical mission. A sense of that this day that the Lord has made, first you should be glad in it and have a peace of mind. Secondly, you must ask God to order your steps for this day. Thirdly, you must say, Lord, give me this day an opportunity to live my purpose. Because you're not going to live your purpose at the end of your life. You live it every moment of your life. And you need to deliver it and redeem the time. So I challenge you here, and I challenge you, all the audience throughout the nations. Let's rise up to the challenge of being a great leader and have those traits that will make fundamental difference in the life of any person that we're going to be touching. Thank you very much.
Coming up next, session questions. But first, enjoy these gifts from Teach Every Nation. Just visit the link below to obtain your free downloads.